Hello and welcome back, future scientists. I'm Mr. K with Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and I wanted to take some time and just review some of this material with y'all. We might have a test coming up, and this stuff can be kind of tricky. So I've got a worksheet. It's got about 10 questions on it. Teacher, if you could go ahead and pass that out. Y'all take 10 or 15 minutes to work on it, and when you're ready for the review, come back to me, and I'll pull it up on the board and do it with us. All right, hopefully that didn't give us any trouble, but just in case it did, I'm going to do it with everyone on the board back here, so just follow along the best you can, and hopefully we'll clear up any of that confusion. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, number one here says, which of the following below is an example of Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics? So remember, this was the guy and this was the theory that was around before Charles Darwin showed up with his theory of evolution by natural selection. Okay, so and his big example were those giraffes. The giraffes are stretching their necks to reach the high leaves because they're stretching their necks so much. That's why the necks are so long. And then when they reproduce, they pass on that long neck to their offspring. So that was his theory. Okay, let's go to number two. It says if you declaw a cat, when they reproduce, their offspring will not have claws either. This is false. Okay, if you declaw a cat, you maybe have taken the claws out of the cat, but you haven't taken the genes for the claw out of the cat. So when they reproduce, their offspring will have claws just like normal. Okay, you'd have to go and declaw the offspring as well. And so this is an example that disproves Lamarck's theory, is that the inheritance of acquired characteristics doesn't really happen. You don't inherit traits or characteristics, you inherit genes. And unless you can change the information at a genetic level, you're still going to pass on that trait. And so even if a cat is declawed, when that cat reproduces, their offspring will have claws. So the answer here is false. All right, let's keep it going. So 3 here says, where did Darwin study his finches? Okay, I really need us to remember that he went to the Galapagos Island. He went all over the world and he's studying wildlife and fossils everywhere, but when he got to the Galapagos Islands, that's when he saw his finches, and that played a really big role in his whole theory. Okay, let's keep it going. 4, what type of scientist was Charles Darwin? He was a type of scientist called a naturalist, and a naturalist is a type of scientist that studies nature and catalogs it and records it and tries to classify it, right? And so because he's a naturalist, what's the best way to study nature is to go see it. And so he got on his ship, the HMS Beagle, and he went all around the world to study nature because he's a naturalist. All right, let's keep it going. 5, what was the name of the book that that Darwin published with his ideas? This is On the Origin of Species. Okay, try to remember that name. That's a really important one. Okay, let's keep this going. 6, the ability to survive and reproduce is known as. Okay, so the ability to survive and reproduce is known as fitness. Try to remember that, and reproducing is a really important part of that whole process, okay? All right, so 7 here, it looks like we've got some matching that we need to do. There's 4 blanks, there's 4 options, and we gotta sort those out the right way. So let's see if we can do that. All right, so for 7, number 1 says passing on traits from parents to offspring. That is heredity. So let's go with number C for that, okay? And this says traits, but this should probably say genes instead, would be a little more accurate, okay? The next one, differences between individuals within a species. Okay, so differences between individuals within a species, that's variation, right? If you look across the room right now, you're different from everyone sitting in the room. You don't look just like anybody else, right? Let's keep it going. Number 3, advantageous traits become more common in the population. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be the natural selection. Nature is going to select which traits are more advantageous, and those are the ones that tend to stick around. All right, the next one, individuals with advantageous traits are more likely to survive and reproduce. So that's survival of the fittest. Okay. And remember that reproducing is a big part of that. All right, I got a couple more here. Okay, 8. What is the name of the theory that says all organisms arise and develop through the process of natural selection? So that's evolution, right? Evolution is how organisms are developing through natural selection and how they're changing over time. All right, 9, the idea that all living organisms share a common ancestor and have gradually changed over time is known as descent with modification. So we're descending. If you start at the top where we all have a universal common ancestor, every descent, those organisms are a little bit different. Okay, and then the last one here, 10, sexual selection is a specific form of natural selection where individuals with traits that enhance their mating success are more likely to reproduce. That's true, and again, we see that in birds a lot. Birds have very colorful plumage. Sometimes they have very complex mating rituals because one of the hardest things they face is finding a mate to reproduce with. So anything they can do to find a mate, they'll do because that increases their ability to reproduce and have offspring, right? So thank y'all so much for making it here today. Your teacher has some other work for you to do, so make sure to give that your best effort, and I hope everybody has a great day.